Hello there, and welcome to this introduction of Contour. My name is Carl Wegner. I'm the CEO of Contour, and I've been in the trade finance and digitalization business for almost 40 years, about 25 years of banking in Standard Chartered Bank, Bank of Boston a long time ago, and Deutsche Bank. And then I've been at three startups looking at digitizing trade. One was in 2000 when there was this new technology called the internet, and that seems to have stuck. And I did that for 7 years, and then I left in 2016 to join R3 to look at this new technology, blockchain, and how it could help financial services and specifically international trade. So what is Contour? Contour is we're an ecosystem. We're a group of banks, corporates, and technology partners that are looking to solve these inefficiencies in international trade. We think that there's an opportunity to make trade easier, make it more inclusive, and we really want to build the first decentralized network for trade finance powered by innovation. We're starting with our first product, letters of credit, and we're using that to seed the network and bring banks, corporates, and technology partners to link with each other and with us to build one network to make trade more efficient. How do we start? We started as a project actually at R3, and there were 8 banks, some large global banks like HSBC, Standard Chartered, ING, BNP, some smaller regional banks, Bangkok Bank, SCB, and CDBC Bank in Taiwan. We also had RBS has joined as well. And the 8 banks in 2018 formed a project to look at how blockchain might help letters of credit be more efficient. They invested and had a company build the software for the POC, and then they tested on customers toward the end of 2019. And the customers loved it, the corporates loved it. So they said, now what do we do? How do we take this project, this POC, and make it real? So 7 out of the 8 banks decided to invest. Citibank came in as the last bank, and you can see our investor banks in the bottom left-hand corner. And they invested in making Contour a company, for-profit company based in Singapore to develop this software. What we did in that first year from January 2020 is we did 3 things. We made the software better, going from just a POC sort of clunky thing to smooth so people could actually use it commercially. We built the legal infrastructure to bring corporates and banks on as members into the system. And we also built the IT infrastructure to be stringent enough to fulfill a bank's requirements, which are usually quite high in terms of IT security. For doing a POC, you don't need to do all that due diligence, but when it's actually a certified software that's used in a day-to-day system, there's a different level of security. So we built those 3 things and launched at the beginning of this year. We've done live transactions in 17 countries. We work with SMEs as well as large multinationals. I'll talk about that a little bit later. We're focused on LCs at the moment. We work in all industries. So it could be agriculture, mining. We have some quite strength in the iron ore industry, mining, chemicals, petrochemicals, and even with SMEs, retail and textiles. So what are we? We're a distributed, decentralized digital trade network. Our base layer is R3's core to blockchain, which allows DLT systems to communicate. And what does that mean? It's really a set of applications built on the standard where distributed ledger technology, where each customer has their own database, and DLT allows those databases to stay in sync. We're a permission network, so we allow members, which are banks and corporates and partners, to join the system and to be able to connect. And we're setting a bit of a standard in terms of linking. Now, we're not saying our standard is the only way or our blockchain is the only way. We work with partners and other systems using APIs. It's fine. It can be blockchain or non-blockchain. The point is, how do we get that data inheritance from one system to another? So on a Contour transaction, who's on a Contour transaction? You have a buyer, you have a seller, the buyer's bank and the seller's bank. And they're all members on the system. They all can see each other and choose to work with each other, but we don't see any of their information. So we don't know, and I'll walk through a transaction in a minute, but we don't know what's the information in a transaction. So Contour is a communications protocol that allows the databases of these four parties and potentially partners, multiple parties, to keep their data in sync on a specific transaction. They're not sharing one database, it's their individual databases, and they're sharing the data related to that specific transaction. So why use Contour? Well, from a corporate perspective, a traditional LC takes weeks to manage. Issuing an LC can take maybe between a buyer and seller communicating, deciding on the terms, and then issuing to the bank and then receiving it as an advising. It can take a week. Usually in our system, it takes pretty much an afternoon. Amendments can take 7 to 10 days. One of our customers said amendments take 7 to 10 days and 16 phone calls. It's done, again, it can be done in an afternoon, no phone calls, because everyone is syncing their data. And of course, presentation can work with all digitized documents or hybrid presentations, but they're still coming in much quicker. So a day for a presentation rather than 7 to 10 days. When you have short shipments where the shipment may take a day or two and the documents take 10 days, you're going to save a lot of money and time, because those goods are not going to sit on the dock. What we are, and the way we look at it, is we're trying to help corporates and banks on this journey in the digitalization journey. And it's not going to happen instantly. It's a process, right? So the first thing is how you digitize. How do you take the paper out of a transaction? And we can do that by bringing the data in, whether it's structured data or it's PDFs. On Contour, we've built the workflow to manage that data and bring it through the process for an LC, which is the legal format. People can see it, but they necessarily can't change it if they don't have the right to change it. We have customers, and the nice thing about us is our customers, we're adding 1 to 2 new corporates every day. They're introduced by other corporates. So it's a member get member type of system. And they're influencing, some members are influencing other members to join. Banks ask their customers, their corporates to join. Corporates ask their banks and their counterparties to join. And as they build certain trade corridors, right, work with certain trade pairs, and then they're building out their whole ecosystem. So you're not going to do it. And some customers say, I don't want to start till I can do everything. Well, no one's going to do everything right away, right? It's a journey, and you're going to learn. And even if the system was available to do everything right away, you wouldn't be able to convert right away instantly. It's not going to do it over a weekend. So this digitalization journey is something that we're working with our customers, whether they're banks or corporates, to move on this journey, and working with partners, technology partners like MineHub, who are also bringing their data in and syncing into our system. So what does an LCN Contour look like? Our goal really is to have your first LCN Contour be much better than the last LC you did on paper. So what's the first part? An LC first is a negotiation between buyer and seller, deciding what is going to be in the LC. They decided what they're going to buy, but the terms of payment, all that has to be negotiated. So on our system, the two members, buyer and seller, they can communicate. and co-draft an LC and decide what they want, what they can accept. And they do it on one system. In the past, they used it on maybe email, WhatsApp, other systems. Now they can just one system and they can share that copy. Is this okay? Change this, what did you change? They decide. Once they do that, then the buyer can issue that LC. They can send the request for issuance to the issuing bank. The issuing bank then reviews it. They can co-draft, they can make changes they need to. And then they actually legally issue the LC to the advising bank. Its advising bank reviews it and they send it to the beneficiary. So issuing, advising, and LC co-drafting can happen within hours instead of within days or weeks. If you look at LC amendments, it's where it really shines. An LC amendment takes 7 to 10 days. Like I said before, most of our LC amendments are done in an afternoon. And the majority of LCs, 80% or so of LCs are discrepant. Why? Because something changes at the last minute and there's no way to get that LC amendment done in time. So what does the buyer do? He talks to the seller, says, don't worry about it, just ship. I'll accept the discrepancy. Well, then the seller has lost the benefit of an LC. They've lost the payment coverage, the credit coverage, and potentially the financing. Our LCs are almost always clean because an amendment can be done so quickly. And the last part, presentation, working with partners in MindHub and others, right? We bring all the data in. It can be hybrid, it can be some paper, electronic, and that presentation goes from seller to seller's bank to buyer's bank to buyer, and they can see the process. There's never a question of where is that LC? Who's got it? Everyone can see it. So by all these steps, the visibility is there, co-drafting, communication. It shortens the time. It eliminates courier fees, SWIFT fees, and amendment fees. And it gives an opportunity for all the parties to start working with digital documents. Of course, being distributed ledger technology, every participant owns their own data, and that's especially important in countries where data privacy laws require that data to stay in a country, and the database can't be somewhere in the cloud in a third-party country, so you own your own data. A quick, this is a quick case study showing, how you can move, from maybe, a week or so for issuing an LC. It's, a day or maybe a day. You can shorten the shipment and the presentation by 13 days. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that a buyer or seller pay quicker. What it does mean is that a buyer and seller can plan more accurately when there's no gray area. Where is the documents? They can plan when they're going to pay. It doesn't necessarily mean pay quicker, but the CFO can decide, I need money on day 6 to pay, not borrow money at day 4 to 7 because I'm not sure which day. So you're not necessarily paying quicker or receiving money quicker, but you know what day you're going to get paid because that gray area of documentation is gone. We're now available at 15 banks in 51 countries. Like I said, we're adding corporate customers every day, adding a bank or two almost every month. So continue to grow. About half our business is 1 foot in Asia, but about half the global LCs are in Asia. Why Contour? We're live, we're in production, we're doing transactions now. We're starting with LCs, just the point, starting with LCs. And the reason we're starting with LCs is because there's a global standard for LCs. So we want to seed the network with LCs with something in a way that's easy because it's understandable. Just like Amazon started just with books, and now you can buy anything on Amazon. So we're building the network with LCs. And we're going to continue to grow that and grow other products, guarantees, standbys, open account in the future. But we're going to focus on building that network first because the point is to be in production and to allow customers to use it. As I said, in I guess this slide here, again, we'll be adding more services. We work with post-trade platforms, trading platforms. We work with electronic bills of lading, and we work with systems integrators, And, someone like in certain industries, like, the mining industry, we work with most of the top players. Won't have to say names right now, most of the top players, and continue to add their buyers in many countries. So I'll stop that right there. Again, a digital strategy is important, especially with COVID, as we've seen that, and look forward to any questions a little bit later. And thank you for the opportunity to talk to you.
Okay.